Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Really appreciate you being here. I've got breaking news coming out. If you didn't see my post I just put out on YouTube here about an hour or so ago, this retaliation strike has begun, guys. The U.S. has launched strikes inside of Iraq and Syria, and this was a massive, massive attack. Okay, and this is not going to be the only one. I will show you here in just a second how massive of an attack this was, but I'm making it clear that this is not the only time that they're going to do this. And we're going to talk a little bit about Iran here too, because Iran stated that they are going to respond if they are attacked or if their interests are attacked. So is any of these locations that were hit, will that be of any interest to Iran? Will any of these groups that are hit be interest to Iran as well? I'm not sure yet. We're going to have to see what happens here in the next couple days. Most likely Iran won't respond to these attacks because they are inside Iraq and Syria. But there's a possibility. We never know what can happen. This is a crazy world we live in, and anything is a possibility, right? So let's get right into this. I've got a statement here from CENTCOM that came out. This is at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. So this just came out in the last 2 hours or so. Okay, so February 2nd, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM forces conducted airstrikes in Iraq and Syria against Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, and affiliated militia groups. U.S. military forces struck more than 85 targets, guys, 85 targets, with numerous aircraft to include long-range bombers, and they were using B-1 bombers here, okay, the Lancer bombers. They were using these long-range B-1 bombers flown from the United States. The airstrikes employed more than 125 precision munitions. The facilities that were struck included command and control operation centers, intelligence centers, rockets, and missiles, and unmanned aerial vehicle storages, and logistics and munition supply chain facilities of militia groups and their IRGC sponsors who facilitated attacks against U.S. and coalition forces. So I did say here that the U.S. was originally going to go after Iraq and Syria, and they were going to go right for the source, which was these Iranian-backed militias. That's what they're going to target for right now, and I think they're going to keep this up for a little while. I think they're going to continue to launch these strikes, and I think what the U.S. is going to try to do is not only just try to degrade the ability for these groups to attack, but I think they're going to do their very best that they can to continue to suppress, because they will hit these sites, these storage depots, and wherever, right? But then these groups will resurface after the smoke clears, and then they'll continue to attack U.S. bases around Iraq and Syria and Jordan as well, okay? So I think they're going to continue to suppress and keep attacking, all right? And we're going to see this going on for quite some time, and these strikes may get even more massive than what we just saw right now. But as you can see there, 85 locations were hit inside of Iraq and Syria, okay? So we're going to start seeing the real true power of 2024's U.S. Air Force, and they're going to be using lots of B-1 bombers, and they're going to bomb the heck out of Iraq and Syria. They're going to start there first, but if this gets really, really out of hand, we may start to see the U.S. go after Iran, okay? And it's all going to depend on what happens here with Iran's response as well, because if Iran has a really bad response to this and they attack back, it's going to be full-blown war at that point. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But I got a article here that goes into depth some more about these strikes and what happened. So U.S. launches retaliatory strikes on Iranian-linked militia targets in Iraq and Syria. The U.S. conducted major airstrikes on 85 targets in Iraq and Syria on Friday, the start of what likely will be a series of larger-scale U.S. strikes on Iranian-backed militias who carried out attacks against U.S. troops in the Middle East. So, like I said, this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. This is only the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. This is only the beginning, and it's going to get bigger. There's going to be more attacks, and the attacks will become larger and larger. I think the U.S. is finally fed up with this. They're not playing around anymore, and we're going to start bombing Iraq and Syria till there's nothing left. Okay, they're going to bomb these groups as much as they possibly can, and they're not going to allow these bases to continue to come under fire like this. And if you saw one of my latest videos this morning, it was literally, I just put it out at like 11 o'clock this morning, Pacific time. And I literally said that these strikes were imminent. They were going to be happening any moment because the U.S. approved these strikes. So they were bound to come in the next 24 hours. And then there they did. About 4 hours later, 3 hours later, they came. So the retaliatory strikes came in response to a drone strike by Iran-backed militants on a U.S. military outpost in Jordan on Sunday, which killed 3 U.S. service members and wounded more than 40 others. President Joe Biden said in a statement that the U.S. military response will continue at times and places of our choosing. The United States does not seek conflict in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world, but let all those who might seek to do us harm know this. If you harm an American, we will respond, is what Biden said. If you harm an American, we will respond. The strikes on Friday were markedly most significant than previous attacks on Iranian-backed militias over the last several weeks, which have primarily focused on weapons storage or training facilities, but the administration is threading a needle. They want to deter and stop further attacks, but avoid a full-scale conflict with Iran breaking out in a region already roiled by continuing Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. So real quick, I just want to say that's going to be a really difficult thing for them to do because like I've been saying, we can strike back at these militias all we want. We can bomb them every single day if we want to. But just like what we've been seeing down in Yemen, they will continue to attack back. And all these groups are vowing to continue to attack the United States and attack any of their interests, okay, because of this war down in Gaza. They are vowing to continue the attacks. And I just put out a video earlier too that was explaining that these Iranian-backed groups literally said that they will continue these attacks before they were even bombed right now. They said we will continue striking U.S. forces. So they're going to keep going at this no matter what, no matter how many times we bomb them. Just understand that. So U.S. Central Command confirmed in a statement that airstrikes were carried out in Iraq and Syria against Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force and affiliated militia groups. U.S. military forces struck more than 85 targets with numerous aircraft to include long-range bombers flown from the United States. The airstrikes employed more than 125 precision munitions, the statement said. The facilities that were struck included command and control operations, centers, intelligence centers, rockets and missiles, and unmanned aerial vehicle storages, and logistics and munition supply chain facilities of militia groups and their IRGC sponsors who facilitated the attacks on U.S. and coalition forces. The strikes took place soon after Biden attended a dignified transfer and met family members of the soldiers in Jordan. So it's interesting, he did that, and then right as soon as he got done with this, this ceremony for these killed soldiers from from Jordan, that's when they went ahead and started bombing over there. Interesting, the timing, right? So the B-1 bombers, long-range heavy bombers that can deploy precision and non-precision weapons were used in the operation. So here's an example or a picture here of a B-1B Lancer bomber. Okay, this is one of the bombers that were used over there in Iraq and Syria during these strikes. The Biden administration has signaled there could be additional actions in the coming days. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Thursday that the U.S. response would be multi-tiered. Okay, they did say that, multi-tiered, and they will continue these strikes. They will probably go on for several days, and I think the strikes will increase with each day going by. They will increasingly get larger and larger, and I think this will be the final response, in my opinion, in terms of like a larger scale deterrence. Okay, I don't think this is something to really end what's going on over there, but this is going to be one of their last attempts to do a large deterrent strike. So what I mean by that is to deter them or to scare them into submission where they do not continue attacking. But, lo and behold, I believe these attacks will continue. We have the ability to respond a number of times depending on what the situation is, he said at the news conference at the Pentagon. They have a lot of capability. I have a lot more, Austin added, referring to the Iranian-backed militias. Biden has been under increasing pressure to respond to the soldiers' deaths in a way that stops the militia's attack for good. CNN previously reported Iran-backed militants have targeted U.S. military facilities in Iraq and Syria over 160 times since October, and several Republican lawmakers had called for the U.S. to hit inside Iran directly to send a clear message. But administration officials, have been clear that any response would be proportionate as to not further escalate things in the region. So I don't think they're going to hit Iran, because right here they say we don't seek war with Iran. We're not looking for a wider conflict in the Middle East. John Kirby, the strategic communications coordinator for the National Security Council, told CNN on Monday. So they're not looking for a wider war. So that's why I told you I think that what they're going to do is just hit Iraq and Syria for right now. And what we'll see is, if these strikes do not work, or if we start getting hit, in Iraq or Syria, and we find out that these groups were attacking from inside Iran, that's where we might actually go after Iran. But most of these rocket attacks on these bases, these ballistic missiles being launched, the drone attacks, most of these attacks are coming from inside Iraq or Syria, okay, not so much from Iran. So that's the reason why they're able to just be like, okay, you know what, we'll just go after Iraq and Syria, not really Iran. But at the end of the day, we know who's funding these groups, okay? So this is really Iran. They're playing this game by using proxy groups in other countries like Iraq and Syria to launch attacks on America. But this is really Iran doing the bidding here, not these groups. These groups are being told what to do with the equipment, with the training, with the bombs and the missiles and everything. They're being told to attack the United States. So would it be justified for America to go and attack Iran because of that? Sure, it would make sense, but they're not going to do that. Not right now. Not at this early stage of the game, but it may come eventually. On Wednesday, the White House said it believes an umbrella group of militants called the Islamic Resistance in Iraq was behind the drone attack in Jordan. We believe that the attack in Jordan was planned, resourced, and facilitated by an umbrella group called the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. I put out a video about that. If you haven't seen it, go check out my page. I did a whole video talking about the Islamic Resistance claiming responsibility for that drone strike in Jordan, which contains multiple groups, including Kataib Hezbollah. Kirby said he stopped short of assigning exact blame on Kataib Hezbollah, the most powerful Iran-backed militia in Iraq, saying it was not the only group responsible for previous attacks on U.S. bases. This certainly has the earmarks of the kinds of things that Kataib Hezbollah does, he said, adding the attribution that our intelligence community is comfortable with is that this was done by the umbrella group called the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. So again, they're blaming this as Islamic Resistance in Iraq group, militia group. They're blaming them for the attacks inside of Jordan on that military base that was hit, the Tower 22. Okay, so there you go. You got all the most updated information right now. This story is just starting to develop. This literally just came out in the last couple hours, so I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm sure there's going to be more information coming out, and we'll find out more about these strikes, what exactly was hit, where did they target, and what kind of damage was done. We'll probably have pictures coming out, all kinds of stuff happening. But again, this was a very massive attack inside of Iraq and Syria, and I'm hearing that Syria may be next for a more larger scale attack. Okay, I think Iraq was hit a little bit more than Syria was today, but I'm hearing that Syria is going to be hit even harder very soon. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I will let you all know if more information comes out, but I'm actually wondering what Iran's response is going to be, because they just came out recently and they were saying that any attack on their soil or their interests, they did mention interests. I did see that in an article. That their interests, if their interests were attacked or any of their troops or anything like that, that they would respond decisively, okay? That's why they pulled their IRGC commanders out of Syria. They have a lot of commanders and high-tier officials, inside of Syria, and they pulled all of them out back to Iran. Why do you think they did that? because they didn't want them to get killed, because if they get killed, it was going to pull Iran into the fight. Okay, so they pulled all of them out because they knew Syria and Iraq were going to get bombed into oblivion. So we'll have to see what Iran's response is going to be, but I don't think they will respond much. I think they will put out some harsh statements, but they probably won't respond militarily just yet. But we'll have to see how the U.S. continues their strikes and what they plan to do, because I'm sure it's going to anger Iran the more that if their militia groups are not as effective as they used to be. So the U.S. military is going to have to take control here and put an end to this. All right, and we'll have to see what this does. But in my opinion, I don't think it's going to do much. I think it'll suppress them for a short time, and they're going to come right back at it and start attacking again, because they've stated that they will do so. They will just get new arms from Iran, new weapons if they get blown up. It's an endless cycle. Okay, so let's keep an eye on this. Everybody take care of yourselves, and just keep yourself on your tippy toes and watch out here, because this could really get out of control very quickly. All right, so the retaliation strike has begun, and we're going to see more of it very soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like the video. And if you enjoy my content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and YouTube will notify you as soon as new updates come out. And we do try to put out several a day. So I appreciate you so much being here today. Hope you all have a great day. Be safe out there. Take care. God bless everybody. And we'll see you in the next one.